Friends, do you know that the so-called unsinkable Titanic went down just 4 days into her very first voyage? Not because of a massive storm, not because of sabotage, but because of a single iceberg. Floating silently in the middle of a calm, moonless night. How could the greatest ship of its time simply vanish beneath the waves, taking over 1,500 souls with it? Let's rewind to the early 1900s, a time of booming empires, rapid industrial growth, and fierce competition among shipping companies. People were crossing the Atlantic in record numbers, seeking new beginnings, business opportunities, or simply adventure. In this age of grandeur, one company, White Star Line, wanted to make history. And they did, by building the RMS Titanic. Built in Belfast, Ireland, Titanic was a marvel of engineering. She stretched 882 feet in length, stood 175 feet tall, and weighed over 46,000 tons. With 9 decks, 4 towering funnels, and the most luxurious interiors ever seen at sea, Titanic wasn't just a ship. She was a floating palace. She could carry more than 2,200 passengers and crew and featured a swimming pool, Turkish baths, elegant dining rooms, and even a squash court. Titanic was more than a ship. She was a symbol of human progress, of power, wealth, and confidence. And yet, that very confidence would soon become her greatest flaw. The Titanic set sail from Southampton on April 10, 1912, heading toward New York City. On board were some of the richest people in the world, and hundreds of poor immigrants hoping for a better life. For 4 days, the voyage was smooth, but as the ship entered the icy waters of the North Atlantic, warnings started to pour in. Multiple nearby ships had radioed warnings of icebergs directly in Titanic's path. But here's the twist. Many of these warnings never made it to the captain. They were either delayed, misplaced, or ignored, buried beneath a pile of passenger telegrams. And still, Titanic kept going at nearly full speed. Why? Some say it was to impress the public. Others say it was tradition. But no one wanted to slow down the most glorious ship ever built. Now, let's walk through the final hours, step by step. April 14, 1912, 11:39 p.m. Lookout Frederick Fleet spots something in the distance. An iceberg, massive, dead ahead. He rings the bell. Iceberg, right ahead. 11:40 p.m. First Officer Murdoch orders the wheel hard to starboard and engines reversed. The ship turns, but not fast enough. Titanic scrapes the iceberg. Not a direct hit, but devastating. 6 compartments along the starboard side are torn open. Water floods in, fast. 12 a.m. Captain Smith is informed. He checks the damage and goes pale. Thomas Andrews, the ship's designer, does the math. Titanic will sink. Not might, not probably. Will, 12:15. AM distress signals are sent out. CQD, then SOS. Nearby ships are too far, or don't respond in time. 12:30 a.m. lifeboats begin loading, but chaos erupts. Many don't believe the ship is sinking. Some boats are launched half empty. There are only 20 lifeboats on board, enough for about half the passengers. 1:40 a.m. The ship is now heavily tilted. Passengers begin to panic. Crewmen shout orders. Flares shoot into the sky. 2:18 a.m. Titanic breaks apart. The stern lifts into the air, then slams into the ocean. 2:20 a.m. Titanic disappears beneath the sea. More than 1,500 people are left in the freezing water. Only a few lifeboats return to help. This wasn't just a shipwreck, it was a human tragedy. In first class, millionaires like John Jacob Astor gave up their seats to help women and children. In third class, entire families were separated. Many couldn't even reach the upper decks due to locked gates and confusion. One young steward, Jack Phillips, kept sending out SOS signals until the very end. The ship's band, 8 musicians, played music to calm the passengers' light and never stopped. They all died. But their final act gave comfort to hundreds. even in those terrifying moments, stories of bravery echoed across the decks. When the rescue ship Carpathia arrived hours later, only 705 people had survived. The world was stunned. How could such a mighty ship vanish? Investigations followed on both sides of the Atlantic. The US and British inquiries uncovered the shocking lack of lifeboats, the ignored warnings, and the blind trust in technology. And so, laws changed. Lifeboats became mandatory for all on board. 24-hour radio watches were enforced. International Ice Patrol was created to monitor the North Atlantic. Decades later, in 1985, the wreck of Titanic was finally discovered, 2.5 miles below the surface. Frozen in time. Still haunting. Still majestic. The story of Titanic isn't just about a ship that sank. It's about the price of human arrogance. It's about the invisible lines between rich and poor. And how, in the end, the ocean doesn't care who you are. It's a warning and a reminder that even the greatest things we build can fall. Titanic may rest in silence now, but her story will never stop echoing across the sea.